Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. We all go about our day unconsciously avoiding things that are unpleasant to us. Obviously, we don't want to do things that we don't like. And ironically, a lot of times, those things you are avoiding might be what would make you wealthier, what might make you healthier, develop better relationships, make better choices with dates. But the avoidance is what keeps you stuck. And what keeps you stuck is the head trash that's roaming around in your brain. Now, what is head trash? I mean, this is a term that's been kind of loosely talked about, but head trash is the negative thoughts, feelings, or emotions you have and assumptions you make about them, and they are your beliefs. So, like, your head trash is different than other people's head trash. You might share head trash, but the truth that causes the stress and the emotional triggers is what's important. It could be anger, control, fear, insecurity, guilt, paranoia. And I see this play out all the time in dating and relationships. So, just to give you an example, I recently began working with a woman who is constantly getting stuck in the friend zone. And if those of you who don't know what the friend zone gal is, I encourage you to listen to my 5 dating archetypes episode to hear more about it. But basically, women like her are seen as nice gals, but they're more like a friend. And for this particular client, she complained that she rarely got past the first date or so, and often got the feedback from men that she's great, but there just wasn't any chemistry. And she heard this because she used a matchmaker, and that was the repetitive theme. And she was baffled because, in general, she told me she was very social. She had a lot of friends. She had no problem talking to men. In fact, when she was on these dates, she thought that the conversations were going really well. They would last a long time. She would drive the conversations, had a variety of topics and interests. So, of course, as you know me, I did a little detective work. And as we were unraveling her history and challenges around dating, she revealed that she didn't really like to embody her sex appeal on dates. And that is something that men had to earn. So as soon as she said that, yeah, I kind of globbed onto that. And I said to her, well, what is it that you think, turning on your sexuality or sex appeal is about for you? And she's like, well, I hate flirting. And when I see women flirt, I absolutely cringe. And so I asked her what her definition of flirting was, and she described it as highly sexualized behavior, making googly eyes at men and acting dumb. And so there we uncovered her head junk or head garbage, right? The very thing that triggered her, showing her flirtatious, sexy side, caused an emotional stress response. And that was keeping her stuck in the friend zone. In fact, she said that she probably wears an invisible cloak on dates so that men can't see that side of her. And the very thing she wanted, which was to progress on dates, was also the thing she feared. And this was linked, of course, to her upbringing and messaging around femininity and sexuality. And I won't go into all that, but we talked about how her definition of flirting and femininity was different than what other people thought. And I reminded her of the true definition of it. And I always go over this, but just to repeat, the flirting is all about not getting attached to the outcome. It's to behave as though you are attracted to somebody without the serious intention of an outcome. And she was getting too attached to that outcome with her association, with her head junk. So I invited her to think of it being playful and not getting attached to the outcome, and practice telling stories rather than business conversations on dates, which she was doing. And of course, I had her practice wearing more dresses. You know that I do that. I always have people put on their date costumes. And so flirting and leading with her femininity was the key to dumping her head trash. And I'm happy to report that she has started to get asked out beyond the first date and without fear. So with me today is a guy who is going to help me take out the head trash. And That will help you get unstuck and find love. He is known as the Power Habits Mentor and is famous for helping entrepreneurs get rid of head trash and make more money. He is the only author in history to have works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster. The list goes on and on and on. He also appears frequently in the news worldwide, including ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Parade Magazine, Entrepreneur.com, and the Huffington Post. Welcome, Noah St. John. Hi.
Hey, Kim, great to be here today with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. And I'm so happy that you are a man taking out the trash today. I really I hate doing it. But, I feel like I have a partner in crime now to help people with this topic.
Absolutely. Yes, I've been doing it for a very long time, Kim. And let's face it, there's a lot of trash out there that needs to be taken out.
Yes, and it stinks often. Well, before we dive into that, I know you and I talked, we met at an event that we had together, and we had such a great conversation. And I think we even shared some stories about our personal life, but I'd love to find out more on what got you into this whole field that you're in right now, and a little bit more of what you do.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's funny because I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And I know that's a total cliche, but it's totally true. I grew up in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which just happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure.
Oh
So
my
from a very
gosh.
young age, I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. Now, you hear these stories all the time. You know, speakers get on stage, they say, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, in my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So it wasn't fun. It sucked. So, I hated that life of poverty and fear and lack and not enoughness. That's what I experienced, in my family growing up. But I saw that right down the street, there was great wealth and abundance. So I said, it doesn't have to be this way. And so, when people meet me, Kim, they often say, and I take this as a compliment now, that I'm probably the nerdiest nerd in the industry, the personal and business growth industry, because, when there's a problem, when there's an issue, I just have to solve it. I have to get down to the molecular level and fix it, solve it. And I just can't rest until if something's wrong, if people are having a problem, or if I'm having an issue, I just have to solve it. And so I've always been that way, even as a little kid. So, as a nerd, I did the only thing that I could do, or thought that I could do in that situation, which was I went to the library and started reading a lot of books on it. I started reading books on personal growth, self-help, success, all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. And, I
Right.
really, really tried to get them to work, but I just couldn't seem to get them to work. I was working hard, but I was really frustrated. I found myself in a bunch of survival jobs just to pay the bills. And, at the age of 25, I was so frustrated and been depressed for a very long time. At the age of 25, I decided to commit suicide. I decided to take my own life because I didn't see any way out. Well, at the very last moment, my life was spared. I share that full story in my books and in my online programs. But anyway, long story short, when that happened, I decided to devote the rest of my life to serving God and serving humanity as best I could while I was still here on the earth. There was only one problem. I still didn't know I was here on the earth. And so
Hmm.
I had to then I decided to go on another journey. This one more of a spiritual journey, more of an inner journey. And I started reading books by the spiritual thinkers of our time: Ernest Holmes, Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Neil Donald Walsh, and thinkers and speakers, authors, thought leaders like that. Anyway, so long story short, it was another 5 years and then in 1997, I actually had two epiphanies that really changed my life and led me to launch my company, which is called successclinic.com. And unbeknownst to me, I accidentally and really unknowingly launched one of the very first personal and business growth websites on the internet back in 1997, over 2 decades ago. And if anybody remembers being online in 1997, remember that?
Yeah. Doo-doo-doo.
Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I do.
it was basically just me and Al Gore back then. But anyway, the point is that, people would just find me and they would start to, they'd hire me as a coach, or they'd read my books or get my programs. And long story short, again, fast forwarding, now, all these years later, over 2 decades now, we've helped our coaching clients to add collectively over $2.7 billion in sales, meaning we've helped entrepreneurs, we've helped celebrities, athletes, CEOs, working moms and dads, also kids, teenagers, but we've helped people to start their business, grow their business, become better leaders, better people, attract more happiness, well-being, peace of mind. And we've helped people add 6, 7, and yes, even 8 figures to their business. And also, we've helped people to find love. We've helped to save many marriages. And we've also, many people have told me that, they've read my books or gone to my events or taken one of my programs and decided not to take their own life. So it's really
Mm,
come, I guess you could say, full circle, from a very dark place
yeah.
to a place that we've really been able to help a lot of people around the world. So it's really been quite a journey.
God, what a beautiful story. And it's really inspirational because I think, no matter where anyone comes from, we have all had periods of adversity for ourselves, and it's hard sometimes to see your way out of it. I wondered because, we're going to talk about this whole notion of getting rid of the head trash. Like back then when you were in those dark places and moments, what was your head trash and how did you get past it?
Well, my head trash was, basically, I don't want to be here on the earth. That was really what it
Mm,
was. It was, I don't want to be here. What's the point? Now, I do
mhm.
want to mention something, which is, it might sound uh, like it's silly, but this is actually an important point. When this was back in the 80s when I graduated high school and in the early 90s, and when I was 25 years old, it was 1992 when that happened to me. So this was long before the internet really became the internet, as of course we know it today. And even in 1997, when I started SuccessClinic.com, it was of course nothing like we know it today. There was no Facebook, YouTube, social media. There was no blogging, no nothing like we have today. It's print on demand books and all on and on and on. So the point is that at that time I just didn't see any way out. I was doing all those survival jobs, as I mentioned.
Mhm.
Basically I would just be working at these places and just saying to myself, is this all there is to life? I mean,
Mhm.
this sucks, and this is not what I wanted. This is not what my dream was, to do this type of work that I felt just I wanted to reach people on a global scale. I really wanted to help people in a big way because of course I've been reading all these books as I talked about, and I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be a speaker and a writer and a coach, but I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know what to write about.
Yeah.
And of course there was no real training back then on how to become an author or an expert like we have today. I mean, everybody and their brother says they can teach you how to be an expert. And so, but there was none of that back then. So the point I'm making is what this means for everyone listening is that I want people to realize that, right now with so much uncertainty and things going on in the world, that there is not just hope, but there is a system, there's a framework. And that's one of the reasons we've helped our clients not just make money, but also start their business, grow their business, find love, lose weight. We've helped, teens and parents and CEOs and executives of all across the board, and the health industry, chiropractors, dentists, and on and on and on. My point being is that I want people to realize that if they're feeling frustrated, if they're feeling fear, if they're feeling anxiety and worry, I do want people to realize that there is a way out of that, and you don't have to succumb to that fear.
So how do they do that? I'm sure like, so tell us more, Noah. No, and especially in relation to love. And I don't know if even you had some personal tips along the way, because with your head trash and your story, like how did you find love and how do you guide people to take the trash out of their head so that they are unstuck?
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I talk about in all of my books. And we do have a free book offer for your all of your listeners, by
Oh,
the way,
awesome.
want to mention. Do you want me to talk about that? I can just say that now if you want.
Yeah, you can say that now, and I'll remind people at the end
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, you can just go to freeheadtrashbook.com. So we're talking about how to get rid of your head trash. So I have one of my books, one of my most recent books called Get Rid of Your Head Trash about money. And of course, we all know that money is a very emotional topic, not just in your business life or in your career, but also in your relationships. Last time I
Yeah.
checked, the number one cause of divorce is arguments about money. So that's
Mhm.
a huge, huge topic. So anyway, it's freeheadtrashbook.com. Very easy to remember. Freeheadtrashbook.com, and you can get the book Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money for free. We just ask you to cover the shipping, but because you're listening to this program, You can get it free, freeheadtrashbook.com. So in my books, one of the things we talk about is about identifying your head trash. This is one of the really important things. It sounds so simple, but it's really powerful. So I'll give you a quick example from one of my clients. I was speaking at a conference. It was actually a network marketing conference. I do a lot of training for network marketing companies as well as entrepreneurs and businesses and organizations around, around the country and around the world. And so this woman came out to me. Her name was Sheila, and she was very skeptical. She's like, this sounds great, but I kind of heard it all before. And I could tell that she'd kind of done a lot of things. And she told me she'd spent a lot of money on all these different programs and stuff. And I was like, okay, I understand you're skeptical because maybe you're not where you want to be in life. And she told me a little bit about her story, that she was making about $5,000 a month in her business, which is, pretty darn good. A lot of people like to be at 5,000 a month, but she really wanted to do more. She knew she could do more. She was smart, motivated, really wanted all those things. So she ended up actually signing up for, one of my coaching programs. And one of the exercises that I do with all my coaching clients, and all of your listeners can do this right now, is the first thing is you can just write down, well, what is your head trash? What are the beliefs that are holding you back? So one of the ways that I teach this is you want to write it in terms of, number one is, well, what is it you're going for? Like, think about it like driving your car, right? So when you're driving your car, most people don't just get in their car, drive around in circles, and then, go home. I mean, that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? You're just going around in circles. But that's what a lot of people are doing in their lives and in their business and in their relationships. They're just driving around in circles, right? And they don't really know their destination. And so just like in a car, right, you generally don't get in your car and go around in circles. You know where you're going. Like, even if you're just going down the street to get some groceries, you have a destination and you have a reason for going there, right? Well, that's what we need to do in our life and in our business and in our relationships. Where am I going and why? Right? So I had her write that down. So all of you can do that right now. And then the second thing you can do.
Before you move on, Noah, actually, this is a really good point. I want to just highlight this, because the thing that I find a lot of my clients are that driving in circles is something that so many people do, but they don't even realize they're in a circle. Like, they think they're going straight, but they're actually in the same loop over and over again. So I see this with, clients who keep attracting narcissists or emotionally unavailable people, or, it's the patterns that we see over and over again. And they think they're taking a new path and taking a new road. But the truth is that they're stuck in a loop, in a circle. So I love that.
That's exactly right. And so I had her do that. And then the second part of this exercise is you can look at, okay, so what are my beliefs about my ability to reach my destination? Now, when we look at head trash, and this is one of the things I talk about all the time, whether I'm coaching $50,000 clients or I'm speaking at a live event or virtual event or in my books and programs, I say, listen, your head trash is the voice in your head that says, I can't do it because ... I can't do it because I'm too old. I can't do it because I made too many mistakes. I can't do it because I don't have the time. I can't do it because I never meet the right person. I can't do it because I'm a Martian. I mean, whatever your head trash is, right?
That might be hard, actually.
That might, what I'm saying. The point is, we all have these excuses, these reasons of, well, Noah, you don't understand. Well, yeah, sure, it's easy for you because blah, blah, blah. Oh, right, it's easy for me. Yeah, I was, I decided to commit suicide. So you're right. It's just been very easy for me.
Right.
That's one of the reasons I share that story, Kim. So I want people to realize probably nobody listening to this program has had, was in that, or is right now, hopefully not, in that bad of a situation as I was. That's one of the reasons that I want people to realize, what this means for you is that no matter where you are, no matter how bad it seems, you can get out of it. You just have to start to take action, right? You really can't think your way out of it. You do have to act. You do have to take action. So that was what Sheila did, like she was skeptical, but she decided to act and, hire me as her coach. So the point is we started to do that. And then she started to look at why she didn't think she could get it. And, there were a lot of reasons, whatever they were, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, she looked at it and she said, wow, I didn't even realize I've been thinking that. See, this is one of the big awarenesses for people. Yeah. And in my live events or my coaching is to say, wait a minute, the first step of transformation is awareness. Meaning, if you're not even aware of something, how can you possibly change it? The answer is you can't, right? You have to become aware of something. In fact, one of my coaching clients years ago said to me, Noah, as we were doing this work, as we were doing all this inner game work and all, getting rid of the head trash that you teach, it was like you turned a light on in a room that had been dark my whole life.
Mhm.
And I thought about it and I said, actually, that's exactly what it is. Because think about it, for everyone listening to this program right now, think about this. Let's say wherever you are in your home or in your office, or maybe if you're in a car or whatever you may be right now, just imagine that you are in, your home, and you have your furniture and everything as normal, but all of a sudden all the lights went out and you couldn't see anything. And somebody comes into your home and says, okay, now it's time to rearrange the furniture. Now, how successful are you going to be at that, right? Probably not very, because you can't see what you're doing. But imagine if I come in and I turn on the light and I say, okay, now we can rearrange the furniture. Like, oh, there's the coffee table. There's the ottoman. Now I don't have to hit my shins. You see what I mean? So
Oh
it's
my
just like
gosh,
that
yes.
with our
Wait, wait,
beliefs.
wait. Can I just go off of that visualization
Yes.
for a second? Because it's really weird. And
Mhm.
you don't even know this, but I talk about what you just said all the time. I call it the matrix.
Mhm.
You can call it what you will. Like you put
Mhm.
on a different pair of goggles and you're in the same world, but everything looks different, right?
Right.
And so I call it the dating matrix or whatever
Mhm.
it is. But with your example of what you just said, to piggyback off of that, is that it's the same room. That's what's so fascinating about
Right.
it. So we're changing the perspective. We're not changing the room. You're changing the perspective and you're moving the furniture around, and so that's your
Mhm.
approach. You might be changing the way you go about the room and the way the room looks. But when the light goes on, you're in the same room, you're just seeing it a little different, and then all of a sudden that table that was in the left-hand corner is right in front of you and you're like, "Oh, I didn't notice that table before." So that awareness is so huge when it comes to change. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Exactly. So as we started to go through that, I mean, those kind of aha moments, those epiphanies were happening for Sheila.
Yep.
So long story short, what happened was, as a result of doing all of this work and really showing her how to, what I call, master your inner game, the inner game of success, the inner game of business, and of course, the inner game of really just living. What I realized, or what happened was, as a result of doing this work, her business went from where she was making $5,000 a month and working really, really hard, to where she's now making $75,000 a month and more, 75,000.
Wow.
And she's working less. So that's what she told me. She says, Noah, what's so nice is not only am I, able to take my family on vacations and, pay cash for all these amazing things that we're able to do now, but I'm actually working less to make 75,000 a month than I was to make $5,000 a month. Now, I'm not that great at math, but that's a 15 times increase, 1,500% increase. And all that happened in less than a year, just because I was able to show her how to get rid of her head trash.
That is awesome. And I can only imagine too, just using that concept,
Mhm.
how that would also create abundance in love and in people's like dating opportunities. Like if you're only having one date a month or one date every
Mhm.
3 months, what if we use the same concept that you just said and apply that to dates, like with money, how abundant the life would be for you when it came to love. But it's like turning on the light, shifting the furniture around and seeing it all
Exactly.
different.
Well, exactly, and I'm a great example of that too, personally, because as when I started my company, successclinic.com, in my college dorm room in 1997 with $800 and a book on how to do HTML, I had no self-esteem at all, because I'd just been going through all that stuff that I've been going through my whole life,
Mm.
and I had had that suicide experience that happened just 5 years earlier. So I still had very low self-esteem. So unfortunately, in the year 2000, I got into a very, I would say, mentally abusive relationship with a woman who really treated me very badly, and I
Mm.
just took it, and I took it for 4.5 years, which is embarrassing to admit at this point, because I'm supposed to know better. But I really didn't have the support system in place. This is one of the things that we talk about all the time, how
Oh, yeah.
crucial it is to have a support system. And I really didn't have one. Even though I was teaching about it, I didn't have one in place. So I left that woman, and ended up $40,000 in debt, because she put me in a lot of debt. I'd never had credit card debt in my life,
Oh, wow.
but she put me in a lot of debt. And so after that experience, I realized I'm driving around in circles. I'm doing the same thing. I'm attracting the wrong person over and over again. And so
Mhm.
I sat down and I wrote down, what do I want in a woman? Well, I want her to be beautiful and sexy, and I want her to be shorter than me because I'm not that tall and I have a big male ego. So I want to look cool in pictures. So she's got to be shorter than me. She's got to have a beautiful figure. She's got to be smart. She's got to be. I don't like tattoos. I don't want someone who drinks wine or drinks coffee. And I'm going all this whole list. And after I wrote it, I said, well, that's impossible. I literally got to the end of the list. I said, well, it's impossible. You're never going to find that person. So I'm like, well, okay, well, that's what I want. Well, too bad, but that's what I want. So I kind of put the list away, and then through a
Wait,
series
wait,
of
can I ask you a question? That the
yeah,
words that you just said, "That's impossible," was that the head trash?
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Okay.
I said I heard it. I mean, I probably
Right.
said it out loud. Even I
Right,
was like,
right.
well, that's impossible. I probably went, oh, dream on, buddy, because forget
Yeah, okay,
that. I
just
mean,
to be clear what the
I don't
head
know
trash
what
was.
planet you're on, but this is not. You're not going to find. I mean, I literally said it's impossible. I said, forget it.
Mhm.
So, but then, then I started to, look at that and do the work that I'm talking about. Anyway, so long story short, I ended up, making money. I finally learned how to make money online, which is, that's another conversation about how to make money online, but I did that. And I was able to, move. I just had this sort of intuition to move to Ohio because a friend of mine said it would be fun to move to Ohio. So I'm like, Ohio, fun, Ohio, fun. Not getting that. But there was just something inside of me. You ever have those intuitions, just that inner knowing, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense at all, any
Mhm.
logical sense, but you just do it anyway. Well, that's what happened, and I found myself here in Ohio uh, in 2007. And I knew one person, this friend of mine named Scott. Well, Scott introduced me to a friend of his, and that friend introduced me to this gorgeous blonde named Babette, and now she's my wife, and she meets all those criteria that I literally said was impossible.
And is
So
she oh my god, and so is she shorter than you too?
I just look at the pictures online. She's right. I'm like,
Oh
I
my
look
god.
tall. See? And I mean, she's just this little petite. She's gorgeous, and I mean, she's smart. She's hardworking. She doesn't drink. She doesn't drink because I'm a teetotaler. I've always been a teetotaler, so I didn't want somebody to drink. I mean, just finding someone who doesn't drink coffee is impossible. Said that's what I heard in my head. I'm like, that she doesn't drink coffee. She doesn't drink wine. She's teetotaler like me. I'm like, oh my god,
Wow.
that's great. I'm like, how about that? I didn't think it was possible. So I just want to share that story for everybody
That
out
is a
there.
great
I mean,
story.
it's possible.
Yo, yes, yes. And you turn that impossibility, the head trash, into
Mhm.
possibility.
That's right.
And here you are. And I just, as you were talking about your story, I was kind of going through your steps that you just mentioned. I mean,
Mhm,
yeah, like you wrote down all the things and the beliefs, and then
mhm.
you had, oh my God, I can't, there's no way, that's impossible. And then you took
Right.
action
That's
and
right.
look at you now. So,
Well, and that's
oh,
what I want to share with people
yeah.
is don't listen to your head. Your head will probably talk you out of this because your head is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Your head trash. That's the guy that says, no, 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 just do it all the way you've always done it. Well, guess what? If you do it the way you always done it, you're going to get what you always got. So we got to do something different. And usually it's a thing that doesn't make any sense to you.
Yes. Ah, and that's like a beautiful way to end this because I was just going to say, do you have any parting words of wisdom? But that was very wise. No, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome. Do you have any other, like, last mentions or, again, remind people how to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just remind everybody, freeheadtrashbook.com, freeheadtrashbook.com. Very easy to remember. That is my book, Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money, How to Avoid the 3 Big Money Mistakes Even Smart People Make. And yes, this definitely will affect your relationships. Your relationship with money is a very important relationship. So freeheadtrashbook.com. And then my website is just my name, noahstjohn.com, NoahStJohn, just like it sounds, noahstjohn.com. And be sure to contact me and find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, social media, and make sure you tell me that you heard me here on Kim's show. And just love to connect with all of you out there.
Yeah, you're not hard to find. That's for sure. So anybody who Googles Noah St. John, you will find him everywhere, and you'll see him pictured with a lot of celebrities too. Again, it was awesome having you on, and I just want to highlight too that there is a strong relationship between money and love, and what shows up in one area of your life often leaks into others. So this is all intertwined and all really cool stuff. And of course, this has been the Charisma Quotient, and I'm your host, Kim Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections and find love from the outside in, as always. And definitely get Noah's book, get rid of your head trash about free money at freeheadtrashbook.com, and to really help you pinpoint where your roadblocks are. If you really want help with this on a personal level in terms of your love life and help taking out the trash in your head, I would love to help. Hop on a personal breakthrough call with me and follow the link in the show description so I can help you get there too. And stay tuned until next week with more tips on how to feel and look fabulous every day.